Today we're driving the all-new 2024 Lexus TX. This is a TX 350 luxury all-wheel drive. Starting price on the TX is around $55,000. This luxury all-wheel drive MSRP starts at $61,200. As tested with a handful of options, which I will include in the description, this is $69,000, almost 70 grand. So getting up there in price. We have rear captain's chairs, semi-aniline leather seats with a nice suede insert, beautiful interior in this Lexus TX. As many of you may have guessed, this is based on the Toyota Grand Highlander, though what I'm learning on this first drive event today is it drives a lot nicer and feels very different in here from the Grand Highlander. This has definitely been a very successful effort at making that a more upscale vehicle in this Lexus TX. So let's spend some time walking around this TX 350. We've already driven the 500h F Sport Performance Premium all-wheel drive, and we'll get some time in this with the 2.4-liter turbocharged four-cylinder. That engine makes 275 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque. It's mated to an 8-speed automatic. The direct 4 2.5 turbo hybrid powertrain and some higher trims gets a 6-speed automatic. There will also be a Lexus TX 500h Plus that's going to have a 3.5-liter V6 with a plug-in hybrid, and that'll make over 400 horsepower, though that's coming out later next year. This TX 350 has 22-inch wheels on 255/45 Continental tires. Sharp-looking wheel, looks good. We do not get the adaptive variable suspension in non-F Sport models. This looks quite good and painted in a darker color. Lexus has definitely done some work here to improve the aesthetics on the Grand Highlander, though I'm not completely sold on this front grille yet. I do think it looks better in a darker color, however. It is a big crossover. The big selling point here with this Lexus TX is just all the space you get on the inside. You can comfortably seat up to 7 passengers, 6 in this model with the captain's chairs. You have power folding third row seats, giving you a ton of space in the back. They do take their sweet time. You can see there's even quite a bit of cargo space behind those seats when they're folded up. Some storage down here for a jack, rear cargo cover. There's a compact spare tire underneath. Good to see in a vehicle in this class. Let's see how that third row feels. Electronic door handles all the way around. Sunshades. We get a 21-speaker Mark Levinson sound system, which we'll test out later on in this video. You can fold this seat forward. You have to press this button for a few seconds, and you get very easy access into this third row. Even with that slid all the way back on its rails, I'm quite comfortable back here at 5'10". Good amount of headroom, a couple inches, and I even have a reclining seat. USB ports, cup holders, all the comforts of home. There's a pass-through here, and let's see, we can quickly escape by pulling that lever and pushing that seat forward. Pretty easy ingress and egress. You can slide the seat forward and backward on its own as well. This passenger seat is slid back quite a bit, but you get a lot of legroom in the second row here. In this luxury, we get heated and ventilated rear seats, as well as rear climate controls, more USB-C ports, and a panoramic sunroof, which we did not see in the 500h F Sport Performance. Vents up here to keep the kids cool. Grab handles, all the comforts of home. This is a really nice looking interior. I love the materials they're using in this TX. This leather is so soft, so supple. This suede, these little suede inserts are really nice touches too. We have the split opening glove box here. Cup holders are all removable. You can reconfigure them however you like, move them around. This also comes out. Have a little bit more room for a pass-through to walk back into the third row if you need it. adjustable armrests here on these captain's chairs. Yeah, all very nice, all very luxurious. Massive touchscreen there with Lexus's new infotainment. Let's pop the hood real quick, look at this 2.4 turbo, and then we'll look around the front seat just a bit more. So this all-wheel drive model, again, 275 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque. This is also available as a front-wheel drive car. Rated for about 23 miles to the gallon combined, 20 in the city, 26 on the highway. I've not driven this engine yet, so we'll see how it performs on the road here shortly. These DRLs here, this strip doubles as a turn signal. Let's show you what that looks like. Turning amber there, that looks nice. Lots of physical controls in the driver's seat of this Lexus TX350. We've got buttons here for traction control and off-road trail mode. You can turn on and off auto stop start. There's a hill descent control mode. Brake hold, parking brake is all right down here. I love that. We get this joystick shifter here that we've seen in a lot of Toyota and Lexus hybrid models. A bit strange to get used to at first, but once you do, I actually quite like the operation. It's easy to change from reverse to drive. It all works pretty seamlessly. More USB-C ports, wireless charging up here. A quick access button for our parking cameras. Pretty good resolution and dynamic range from these cameras, though they just seem a bit dark. I've noticed that in my Toyota Highlander as well. As many of you know, we have a 2021 Toyota Highlander. Buttons here to pop the fuel tank lid and the rear tailgate. 3-seat memory settings. Controls here to adjust our gauge cluster brightness. We've got these electronic door handles. Oh, and we've got to test out the Mark Levinson sound system in this video. These are pre-production vehicles, but everything in here feels quite good. In terms of quality, no rattles, no shakes. All the leathers, all your touch points feel very high quality. This car has paddle shifters. We get a digital rear view mirror too. And we've seen this infotainment in a lot of different Toyota Lexus models recently. It's pretty simple. You've got some more controls in here to customize settings. Click on the vehicle icon, you can change different drive modes, normal, sport, eco. You've got some more seat controls in there. You can fold all the seats, that's nice. Change your driving assist settings. Turn a couple things off there. Let's see, all-wheel drive torque distribution, tire pressures, lots of useful information. Of course, CarPlay and Android Auto both connect wirelessly, though you can also opt for a wired connection, which is what I've done today. On the steering wheel, we have these touch controls, which change depending on what is displayed in the head-up display. In theory, I think this is a pretty clever idea. It makes really good use of the real estate here on the steering wheel. In practice, I've had some issues driving and living with this system on the Lexus RX, for example. I think it's just a little bit slow, a little bit laggy, takes your attention off the road more than it should. It works, but let's say you're in cruise control, you're on the highway, you want to change your speed or cancel it. You press the button, it actually doesn't do anything. You have to hover your finger over the button, then press it, wait for it to come up in the head-up display, and it's just kind of a distracting system to operate. So not a fan of these steering wheel controls. I hope Lexus gets rid of them eventually. We could just have constant buttons here and I'd be perfectly happy. They don't really change up that much, honestly. One of the displays just controls your gauge cluster display, and the other one controls the height of your head-up display. And then you switch it over to the other page, and you have following distance control, cruise control, and then 2 buttons that don't do anything. And then on the other side, you've got your track selection, audio mode. I mean, I don't really think this type of a system is really warranted with all the variations that Lexus is giving you here. I think you might be able to customize some things in there, but Anyway, it's not a system I love living with, but it's something that I'm willing to put up with. Honestly, on first impression, it's kind of my only complaint about this Lexus TX and a lot of any new Lexus products. I really like the interior here. Everything is laid out so well. There's plenty of places to put things. The material quality is actually, I think it feels better in here than a lot of other new Lexus products. I've been slightly disappointed with some of Lexus's new interior materials in their new vehicles. This feels really nice. This feels very high quality. This car's built in Indiana too, and everything is tight as a drum. Yeah, I'm really impressed on initial impressions of the way this car feels and drives. Let's go out onto the road. Let's get some driving impressions on this 2.4 turbo and see what that's like, because I've really only driven this car a few feet, and I've spent a little bit more time in the 500H, which has the direct 2.4 hybrid powertrain, which is also known as the Hybrid Max powertrain with the Grand Highlander. So comparing this to the Grand Highlander, first thing I'm noticing is everything in this TX is a little bit tighter, a little bit smoother, a little bit nicer. All of your inputs are just more Lexus-like. This feels like a Lexus product. If I didn't know that this was based on the Toyota Grand Highlander, I'm not sure I'd be able to tell. It's that much of a difference. They've done a lot of improvements, a lot of changes to improve noise, vibration, harshness. Immediately I'm noticing that this 2.4 turbo isn't as smooth as the hybrid powertrain, which is kind of to be expected. A little bit more engine noise, but it's not bad. Plenty of power here mated with the 8-speed auto. We get paddle shifters behind the wheel. Once we get on a little bit more of an exciting road, we'll test out sport mode. Steering is light, effortless. Very quiet in this cabin. We get active noise cancellation, which will play sounds through the speakers to kind of out of phase cancel road noise, sounds over bumps. Makes for a very quiet driving experience. Basically, what I'm saying with all of that is the driving experience here feels very representative of the price point, and that's not something I was necessarily expecting with what I've experienced with the Toyota Grand Highlander in this Lexus TX. I thought, oh, it's just they're gonna add some leather and some nicer options and features, but this is a very different driving car, which I'm glad to report. I think the Grand Highlander feels about right for that price point, but this definitely kicks things up into the $60,000, almost $70,000 mark, and I've got to say this drives as well, if not better, than some of the competitors. Definitely better than options like the Lincoln Aviator. This and the Volvo XC90 are going to be close. If you want that Lexus dependability, the TX is going to be a really, really good option. Long term, something like this will be a great car to own. We've had a really good enjoyable ownership experience with our Toyota Highlander from 2021 with the hybrid, and I think something like this would just kick it up a few notches in terms of luxuries, comforts. It's a really nice overall package, and probably the most spacious Lexus inside too. Much more spacious than the RX, and I'd say this feels even roomier than the LX in some respects. This not being a body-on-frame vehicle allows for a lot more interior volume and space. And you compare this to something like the Toyota Sequoia, which has kind of a compromised space in the rear, that hump allowing for the hybrid system. This doesn't have that. Didn't have to worry about that. You can put people in the third row with some cargo in the back, and it all fits beautifully. It would be nice to get an 8-passenger configuration in the TX, and it seems like most of the press cars that we're driving today have the captain's chair second row, so we're only getting 6 passengers. But if 6 or 7 passengers work with your lifestyle and the trim of TX that you like, it's probably one of the best options on the market. The MDX is probably this car's biggest competitor, and this just feels a little bit more roomy than an MDX. If you have rear-facing child seats. You've got a couple kids in the back. The MDX can get a little bit tight, and this is going to have plenty of room in that second row. I'm hearing a little bit of wind noise in this TX350 that I did not experience in the 500H that I drove a little while ago. I'm going to chalk that up to pre-production vehicle prototype trimming and maybe some noise isolation on the window sills, but yeah, I think overall this car is impressively quiet on the road. Not a ton of power in this TX350 compared to the 500H, but for most buyers this is probably going to be very adequate. It can still tow up to 5,000 pounds. It's reasonably fuel efficient given the size of the vehicle. Ultimately, I think the 500H hybrid is going to be the better buy. It feels more Lexus-like. It feels more luxurious. There's a lot of torque there. It's a bit smoother to drive. This 2.4-liter turbo, even though they've done a lot of work to quiet this powertrain down, it still feels a little bit gruff. And it makes a little bit more noise in this cabin, too. The 500H is probably my favorite TX to drive. With the adaptive variable suspension, it handles really, really well. The steering is excellent. The body control is really well damped. And with the active rear steer, it really does almost provide an enjoyable driving experience around corners. It's a bit more dynamic, a bit more sporty feeling. Curb weight on this TX350 is around 4,900 pounds, almost kissing that 5,000 pound mark. A little bit heavier than the Grand Highlander with extra leather options, electronic controls, etc. Still, all of that said, this TX350 drives great. Feels good over bumps. There's a little bit of vibration and harshness in here on these 22-inch wheels. I assume that would improve substantially on the standard 20-inch wheels. But overall, it's a big improvement from the Toyota Grand Highlander. They've stiffened the body structure, improved the seat mounting points. Very common in these 3-row SUVs for the rear seats to rattle around a bunch. Only thing I'm noticing is this strange wind noise that I haven't experienced any of the other TXs today. We're gonna chalk that up to pre-production quality control here. All right, while we're just cruising, let's go in and listen to this 21-speaker, 1,800-watt Mark Levinson sound system. do get a volume knob here, which is nice. Glad to see that. Yeah, the Mark Levinson sounds pretty good, if I'm being honest. Again, there's probably enough power here for most buyers from this 2.4 turbo and this TX350, but it's not the powertrain that I would opt for. If you're spending the extra money for the Lexus TX over the Grand Highlander, I would go for the 500. It's just such a nicer, smoother driving experience. You're gonna get better fuel economy, better torque. This TX350 is nice, it's fine, but it doesn't stand out to me as being necessarily worth the price tag of this luxury, for example, which is almost $70,000. With the 500H, the hybrid 2.4 turbo, that car does. These seats are very, very comfortable, tons of adjustability. I like the driving position. I have good visibility all around, especially with this digital rear view mirror. We have this electrically operated telescoping and tilting steering wheel. I wouldn't mind for that wheel to come a little bit closer to me as a driver. I feel like taller drivers might be reaching a bit more than they would like for that steering wheel. But otherwise, everything in here feels pretty good ergonomically. Really good sight lines in this Lexus TX. Great. All right, guys. Well, those are going to be my thoughts on the Lexus TX 350 in this luxury trim. We'll show you what this looks like real quick one more time, and that'll be a wrap on this video. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for some more videos coming out soon on the Lexus TX. We'll try to drive some other variants, other versions and models, and maybe get some time behind the wheel of a TX 500 Plus. Until then, we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.